All right, so what can we do for you today? There's was it you who had like multiple characters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you scroll down on the dock, it shows all of my characters that I enjoy playing.
Uh-huh. Is it everything up to Lara, or is it mainly like the first four, I guess?
Oh no, it's past the Legion. I have the main class I'm playing right now is my dual blade.
Yeah.
But I have a Kana farmer, and I have a shade that I do party bosses with, and then the most recent Terror Burn was my Kaiser, which I really enjoyed, and then I was thinking about maybe gearing up my Mihail as well, because that was like my first class I ever played, and I don't know, I kind of stopped playing because the grinding was really slow, but like the bossing, I think Mihail is like the most fun for bossing.
Okay.
But it's just like a bossing meal right now. I don't know if I should actually just go ahead and gear it up. I don't know, because I have way too many characters that I want to play.
Yeah, there's the downside of spreading yourself too thin, right? There's also the downside of losing what you find most enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm just to make sure it's absolutely like clear for the because the Blade Master's here. That's the okay. The first two pictures for the Legion are switched. That's why I was like feeling like there was a page missing. But okay, no, it makes sense now. Because I was looking at the levels, right? I was looking at 227 and then Lara, so I was like, is it like up to Lara? No. But then the Blade Master was 223, so I was like trying to find where it was. But yeah, now it makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so you're well, like the chat is saying, basically kind of a Legion main, right?
Oh, I guess so. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people stop their characters at 200 or 210, but you seem to have a lot of them that go past that of 220, like way more than me.
Oh yeah, if you see those were all old mains.
Yeah.
It was just like when I was grinding Legion, if I really enjoyed a character, I would just keep playing it. It was fun. And yeah, so that's got me almost 8K.
Yeah. And what have you found? Because you've done it with a bunch of characters now, so I imagine that you're sometimes taking like a look at it and at the situation, and it's like, what is leading me to go further with the characters, but then also leading me to not stay with it? Is it just because another character is more fun? Is it because the stage in the game that you get at, it does slow down the progress sufficiently where you're like, it's not fun enough to stay with it? Or have you found kind of why that is?
I think part of it is because when I do grind like that new character, I do find it more fun. Like, because when you get like 220s, it gets pretty, I guess, repetitive kind of playing the same character. But also I find that some classes, I care a lot about the bossing. So some classes are just like hard to boss with, like my Kinesis, for example. Like, I hate having only a flash jump to boss with. It's really hard. And Kinesis flash jump wasn't the best. Like, it's a double flash jump, but it's not the same as like thieves. Like, they just don't move as fast.
Yeah. And you've got your kinetic jaunt, yeah, but that's about it.
So I guess those are the two main things, but also I guess kind of like grinding as well, which is like when I said my Mihail was pretty slow.
Yeah, they all have their strengths and weaknesses, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. But I feel like right now Dual Blade and Kaiser have been pretty good for like all around, I would say.
So it's just a filtering process of getting closer to what is the character that you enjoy, basically. It seems to give them a fair shake, at least. Yeah, a lot of people kind of like stop at 208 or something when you don't really know yet if you're gonna like mobbing or bossing that early on, typically. But it's a huge chore to just make all, just get like a 9K Legion, right? Just get 40 225s. But it looks like you're on the path for that, right? But I mean,
I probably slowed down by 8K.
Yeah.
I think once I hit 8K, I really want to just focus probably on like 1 or 2 characters. I don't know.
So right now it feels like the Dual Blade and maybe the Kaiser are the ones that you're enjoying the most at this moment, but you don't know if that's gonna stay, I guess.
Yeah, because I do want to like actually progress further than where I am right now.
Yeah, the thing
But if
is,
I
like you
keep
say,
finding new characters, it won't happen.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, the thing like you're saying is with that with bossing that they have downsides. The thing is that every class is going to have some upsides and some downsides with some bosses, right? It's not a lot of the mechanics in the bosses. There are some similarities, but there's always some differences. And some characters just have an easier time with some bosses and a harder time with some other bosses. Like the fact that Kinesis just has a shitty flash jump, it can be seen as a huge downside. But when it comes to like Will Phase 3, being able to do the move, if you had a teleport, that would actually be a lot harder. But if you have a flash jump, it's actually quite easy. So that like downside can also be an upside in different situations.
Oh, okay.
And you have an up jump, right? Some other classes might have way better flash jumps and way better mobility, but if they don't have an up jump at all, that could be a big downside as well. But then Kinesis has that up jump, right? So
up jump is nice.
yeah, exactly. Sure. And you'd only notice how nice it is once you go to on a character that doesn't have one. It's like, oof, I missed that up jump, right?
Yeah, like my shade. My shade doesn't have up jump. Really sucks. Yeah. Like Lotus.
You can like flash jump and do the little foxtrot thing if there's a platform, if there isn't anything. Well, you have blink now, right? And blink in the air is kind of like a good substitute for a lot of situations. And there are ways, it's not 100% reliable, but there are ways of not needing up jumps in Lotus.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like with the starter stepping and also with off jumping off of platforms and back on it with flash jump. Takes a bit more practice, of course, but those are doable. But I don't know how familiar you are with those. I guess, you know, provided the levels of your characters, probably not that many Lotus runs under your belt, I would think.
Well, I have
maybe on the Mihal.
So I play with my I play with my brother and his girlfriend. So we're kind of just like a trio doing bosses. So it's not like I'm solo.
And then you're mainly on the Shade? Because you said a party bosser or something.
Yeah, Shade is who I want to play as the party bosser because it's kind of like a support DPS kind of.
What classes do they play?
Yeah, we have an Aaron and an Adele.
Yeah, that would be nice to have some kind of support in there. And it's all multi-target as well, so Shade would do quite nicely there.
So I guess what I was thinking is I would like continue progressing my Shade, and then I pick like one other class as like a solo progression for me.
It looks like that would be Dual Blade or Kaiser at this point, but it could be the...
Yeah.
Because the Mihal is kind of similar in that sense again, right? Where it's also kind of mainly a support. With finally some burst now so that people could actually liberate their weapons. That's a redo.
Yeah, the class feels really nice now with all the changes. That's kind of why I wanted to get back into it. Because even now, when I just do like bossing runs weekly, it feels really nice to play.
Yeah. So what kind of content do you do with the Mihal? Do you do like everything up to Lucid?
Oh no, I only do up to CRA and HMAG. And like everything below that. I haven't tried CPAP, but because that boss is annoying, but I could probably do it. It'd just take long.
yeah, he's pretty annoying. And this guy, I guess, also has a little bit older gear, right? Like
for sure.
It's got the accessories and the Tyrant
Alien plus reinforced, yeah.
Oh yeah, and some reinforced stuff, yeah. But a lot of it is unique, so there's probably some decent stats on there, I assume. Messy nodes. And nodes could be cleaned up to... I mean, it's decent. Like, Radiant Cross, 4-point Assault, and Charging Light, and Royal Guard are pretty good. Regardless if it's messy, you know, it's about getting those levels in, right?
Yeah, I think the nodes on that character is mostly for the grinding.
There's mostly overlap, though, right? With mobbing and bossing for this one?
Yeah, for the most part, actually, yeah. Just that 4-point Assault is only bossing.
Yeah, exactly.
The other ones are good, yeah.
Yeah, and you only have 5 skills that you need, so the second trio can kind of have like a double up in the beginning as well, just so you can level your other skill faster. So that's not even that bad. Okay. Oh yeah, you need that bind though. That's a bit annoying. No, wait, don't you have a no? Wait, Mihal has a self bind. No, Paladin does. Mihal doesn't.
Yeah, Paladin has the bind. They're a hyper skill. I used to play a Paladin.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm not surprised.
Actually, I think that was like probably the first party character for me, because the people I play with, their accounts, they don't have much Legion, so that IED debuff is what I was trying to help out with.
I see. Yeah.
I don't know. Paladin was a worse grinder than Mihail, so that didn't make it very far. And it was before the Awake update, so I think now they're probably decent with that new skill, but before it was just terrible.
Yeah, the Mjolnir hammer throw is pretty satisfying for sure. Yeah. Yeah, well, I almost don't want to mention it, but you have a 0, right? Or no?
Yeah, I do. That's 200.
Oh, yes, okay. Because that one's also very, like, party supporty, and's got the IED, and grindy is much easier, but then, like, solo bossing is a lot harder on it. Or on bosses that don't really need the support. And you kind of lack. I mean, it's kind of similar to Mihail, right? Like, you can very, very much, like, get your own survivability up and help the team with survivability, but if the team doesn't need the survivability anymore, then a lot of your value kind of is relegated to just a burst.
Yeah, for sure.
So it kind of, if you're looking for like a specific situation or specific bosses that your character can be really good at, then pretty much for every single boss fight, there's like a different top 3, right? The one that like always will float to the bottom is Kana, of course, because it's just ridiculous. But for all the other choices, it's always going to be like a different top 3. So when it comes down to like, this is the content I want to do, if you have that pretty clear, then we can look at like which current characters you have and what fits that profile best. But it ultimately, you know, even if that advice says like, oh, this one would be best, but if you enjoy playing something else, ultimately everything can be played everywhere. It's just going to have varying degrees of success, and it's going to need varying degrees of funding for it to be easy or to be, you know, satisfying to you. So ultimately, it's just whatever you feel like playing, man. But yeah, there's definitely a case of at a certain point, if you spread yourself so thin, it's going to slow down the progress that you can make with any individual character. And because, you know, time is a limited resource. And the main thing is doing the symbol dailies on a bunch of characters, right? That's there's definitely a lot of benefit to doing like with the Mihail getting up to 235 and then being able to do all of them, speed up all the early ones, and then you can get through your daily symbol quests pretty quickly. But yeah, it's still a huge commitment. I know, but I used to do. Wait, are you still here? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, wait, no problem. What I used to do is like I would commit kind of hard to one character and pick that one, and then if I ever leveled up, if I maxed out a let's say like the Monster Park badge, or I maxed out like an area, like a symbol daily, then I would start picking up that symbol daily with the next character, just to, you know, just to not do like 12 symbol dailies or 18 symbol dailies a day, or like for areas, but just do one character's worth of symbol dailies a day, regardless of how many characters it would be spread on, you know. But always have one main purpose of one main character to push. You could also push for a certain amount of arcane power, right? You could also say, okay, I'm gonna, you know, for the Mihail, I want to be strong enough to get like up to Lucid and maybe be part of Lucid parties later. So I'm gonna make sure I get at least 540 on that one, and then if I have that, I can just kind of, you know, have them as a backup in case I have a lot of time and I feel like it. But otherwise, it's kind of back burner type deal.
Okay.
So if you have certain goals in mind for certain areas and certain levels, you can use that as more of a short to mid-term goal. And then for long term, you can kind of leave that open, because it seems like you don't want to overcommit on a character either. to kind of keep your options open, because then it's going to force you to play that character only, which in turn is kind of going to force you to abandon your other characters that you might not want to, right?
Yeah, kind of. But I think.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I'm just assuming at this point.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna commit pretty hard to Shade. Since I do enjoy Shade. Like the mobbing is not bad, but not too great. But I think I can just stick with it. But mainly for bossing, as like that support, while still doing pretty good damage, I would say.
So that one's pretty locked in at this point. And then for the other one, you're liking Blade Master a lot. And between Blade Master and Kaiser, what would you say is like the big differences?
I think dual blade is just more fun grinding, but and I guess Kaiser, I don't like the downtime on the transform for Kaiser for bossing, because it's just harder, I guess, and it takes so long to build it back up. And yeah, I don't know. That's just like the one thing I don't enjoy about Kaiser, but like their damage is insane, which is nice. But and they're pretty fun to play. But it's just because with the transform downtime, you don't have the teleport, which is always nice in boss fights.
Yeah, it's I think it's always really nice to have a combination of access of teleport and flash jump, so you can use whatever you need in a certain situation. I always feel like teleport is better in bossing and flash jumping is better in mobbing generally, but of course, yeah, there are some exceptions like Will. But just to get that instant mobility plus not having to do any kind of vertical mobility compared with it, with a lot of bosses have stuff falling from the sky, not having to move into the path.
Like Shade as well.
Yeah,
kind of have both.
Yeah, that's kind of true. Yeah, I guess for Kaiser, for transforming, you have to do like, what is it, a lot of wing beats and tempest blades, right? To build your stacks.
Yeah, I think just anything, but yeah, you can have wing beat while still attacking. Have like 2 skills at once.
Yeah, all I remember is that the tempest blades are like important to use those off every time they're off cooldown to build the bar very quickly, right?
Oh, I actually didn't know that. I guess I could try that.
Yeah, that's from what I understand, that's one of the most important ones. But you get, I think, bonus damage when you have them, right? So you just always kind of just like summon them, wait for the cooldown to come back, and then fire them and resummon them. And then if the bar is almost full, you can kind of like double fire them, then transform. But as far as I'm aware, it's like all the damage helps, of course, and like if you throw the summons in there, all the little bits help. But it's mainly the tempest blades, from what I understand, that help you fill that bar up quite quickly. Yeah, I guess that's the other, well, we're kind of stumbling on that, is like the slight risk is that if you play a lot of different characters, it might also be harder to play them all optimally, right? And know all those little tips and tricks for all of them, because it's just so much, a lot of that knowledge is kind of like niche and hidden, and you have to really go look for it. And that can take away, because a lot of times when people are like, oh, this chaos is absolute garbage, and then you see them play it, it's like, well, yeah, if you played it like that, it is, right? A lot of times a class can have hidden potential or completely untapped potential if you don't really look into it. You know, in some cases that can be cool because it's just like got a higher skill ceiling. In some cases it's a little bit of a failure of conveyance to how the class should be played. Like Kaiser has that whole link system thing. I never bothered with that because from what I heard, it's like not super important. But
oh yeah, it's bad because you have to use like your normal attack, I think, for some of them, and it's just really slow. Yeah, and I think it boosts the damage on like one attack, but like in the time that it takes you to charge that up, you could have just thrown out 2 attacks, so the boosted one attack isn't as much as just 2 regular attacks.
Yeah, and I guess for Kaiser, you also have, while you're transformed, you have the defensive and the offensive modes, right? With the defensive mode allowing you to tank some stuff, so that survivability might also be pretty nice. Yeah, because I'm guessing like if you mainly like the bossing on a character, then it's totally fine to leave them as like a bossing character and just kind of have them sit there. And then what I usually do is, so like I said, like I have one main character that I'm working on, training and bossing on, and then some other characters that I do like that I just keep bossing on, and then what happens is after a while, all of the value you get from the bosses is just gonna keep funding them, even though you're not spending active money, right? Like the money's going into storage, and it's just going to be spent on your main character, maybe a little bit on side characters if the main character doesn't really have anything to actively work on. But all of the cubes and flames and stuff after a while are not really going to have any value anymore on your main character, because it's just going to, you know, the chance of downgrade is way too high. It's just going to ruin your equips. And then you can start trickling those down into the other characters. And what's going to happen is the other characters are basically going to get everything to epic and unique and pretty decent flames and everything. And they're going to get so strong that they're going to become more enjoyable to play. And then at that point, when the main character has like 1 or 2 symbols done, you can be like, okay, well, you know, now actually my dailies don't take that long at all. Maybe I can... what other character can start getting some symbols as well? And then, again, symbols is also kind of like funding without money spending, right? So once your arcane power starts growing there, you can be like, okay, this character is actually completely outgrown where it is in the game right now, and taking the next step with this character is almost self-evident at this point, and then it's going to feel more rewarding to throw some more time into the other character. It's almost the same as like when you're prepping for upgrading gear, that you get like fodder and you get backup and you do a lot of bosses so that you can get backup, so you can see where is the lowest risk to improve. It's almost you're doing the same with the characters, where you're like, okay, we're just going to let the cubes and the flames flow to characters, and then one character is going to get lucky with stuff, and then that character will be the one that is the path of least resistance to improving and to growing. Does the Kaiser have a fake Solab weapon?
Yeah, from the Terror Bird.
Because that's another great thing, is that you have many characters in this situation. They will benefit a lot from just getting like a fake Solab weapon, right? And there's like 3 of them right now, so that's pretty crazy. You got another one from the Maple M Pathfinder stuff, and then one from Lara.
Yeah, I was looking at that actually, the Maple M thing. I don't know if I want to do that, because I don't think I really need another fake Solab weapon, but it was definitely something to consider.
Yeah, if you don't need it, it's whatever. But it is a lot of money just completely saved instantly, because you just don't need to spend anything on weapon for a long time. Especially if you're going to stay hovering around this area. Like even up including like normal lucid and everything below that, you'll be fine with a fake Solab weapon basically. So that takes
good to know.
that takes a huge chunk of necessary funding just completely out of the picture. I've got a bunch of them floating around my account as well. Like my Kinesis has one, and I can go down the entire list. I've got like the old fake weapons. I don't know how long you've played. The ones that went like up to 12, where you could still redo the potential.
I've never had the old ones.
Yeah, that was on 15 Star was max. So yeah, I mean, they just gave 12 stars, but then you could still redo the potential. So that was pretty cool. You can still get them up to legendary if you want. Which I think ultimately is better than getting a 17 star with locked shitty potential. It still makes the item a bit more versatile. And those 5 stars, you know, even though it's quite some attack, I think it's better to have... I mean, the downside is that you have to spend money, right? The upside for the other one is that it's stronger from the get-go, but then it's locked in there forever. But I think that's also good, because that makes it a temporary weapon and not like a eternal crutch.
Yeah.
Depending on their function. Because if you're going to keep him as a bossing character, let's say you get all of them up to like 235, right? 235 would be a really good point, right? Because then if you decide to switch over doing your symbol dailies or whatever, then they have access to everything, and all the symbol dailies they can do will be slowed down significantly, or sped up significantly, I guess, because you have to do fewer of them. And then you can skip a whole lot. Plus, many of the puzzle ones, like Spirit Savior and Dream Defender, will make way more sense with second and third and fourth character once you've already gone through it with with an earlier character, and that will speed up the process of learning for those by a whole lot as well. That's another one. Kinesis Flash Jump will be more useful in some situations in Spirit Savior as well than Teleport can be. Teleport is also very useful in some situations, but you have to just play differently. Yeah, so what, I guess you don't know what I can do, because then you would just do it yourself. Well, I was gonna say, like, what can I do to help you make the decision, I guess, on which characters to focus on more, because you seem pretty set on the shade. So the Blade Master for now, that's like your current plan?
Yeah, that's who I mainly play. Like I do my Arcane dailies on my dual blade, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of bad for my other characters, but I don't know. I just think Arcane dailies are so tedious. So if I'm not really enjoying the character as much,
Mm-hmm.
then I just won't do them.
Yeah.
And they take a lot of time, so.
Yeah, you have a limited time, so that makes sense. So I guess, is there any specific thing in the game that you want to reach?
Yeah, I think getting like full Arcane gear, that would be a nice goal to hit.
Mm-hmm. And droplet wise, how close are you to that?
I don't have many droplets.
You
I
never
never really
from event stores either?
Oh yeah, I have a good amount of black beans, and I think I'll get a bunch. I could probably buy a good amount by the end of the event. But I did buy out all the flames already, so that took a big chunk out.
I see.
Or I bought all the red and rainbow flames, not the black ones. Those were expensive.
Yeah, there's not too much you can buy with wait, did you buy the black one? Black flames?
No.
Okay.
Those are the ones I left because those were expensive.
Yeah, this is really pricey, yeah. Yeah, so okay, so you want to get one character with full arcane stuff?
Maybe two.
Yeah, well, let's start with
my
one and then we
I
can
think
let's scale up.
I think yeah, my shade first, but do you think I could solo up to Lucid Mayville with like a dual blade? Or would that take like too much funding? Like 20 plus star Abso, because that's all I have access to, but I don't know. I was thinking like, or how far do you think like 17 star with like 2-line legendary on like everything? How far do you think that could go?
Well, you have Big Legion. You get all the links. How far could that go? That could probably get you up to easy Lucid. If you want to do normal Lucid, you just have to throw like a whole lot of levels at it. And a bunch of max nodes and everything. Which nodes is probably also... you're already very far with all your characters, but that's also the main thing. If you're spreading your nodes over 5 or 6 characters, that slows that whole process down quite a bit as well, right? And you can't go as
sure.
can't go as min
wish I had
maxy.
more.
Although I must say that your nodes look pretty good, provided that they're spread over this many characters. So that's not a bad situation at all, I wouldn't say. Because any of these characters are like, yeah, they seem that they would be capable of doing the. They still have like average or like above average the node levels for their level. So I don't think that's definitely not like a downside. I think the main thing is how a thing you can spread yourself on the symbol dailies. I think the arcane power is the main crux of this whole thing.
Oh right, because those are the arcane bosses. I forgot about that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I was mentioning, right, the 540 for Lucid. That's a decent goal. From 540 on Lucid to deal bonus damage there. If you want to deal bonus damage on Will, you need 1140.
Oh geez.
Yeah, so if you're looking at soloing, I think you can get to easy Lucid and normal Lucid. With 17 stuff, like every single thing 17, and then the good potential.
Yeah.
Probably, and then party up, like even partying up with 3 people for hard Lucid with just 17 stuff is probably gonna require the other people to be quite a lot higher funded. That's not gonna be enough.
They're actually like ahead of me. A good amount. I think they're like 20 plus or 20k plus stat compared to me.
You mean they're
Here at,
not
like,
playing 14 characters?
Yeah, I'm only at 13.5k on my shade, so
Yeah.
I'm kind of bringing them down. But I don't know. I told them to try and build Legion kind of for the IED because that's where they're lacking. But I don't know. But yeah, our next goal right now would be, or I guess easy Lucid. We tried easy Lucid and didn't go too well. But I think I just have to gear up more and I can help out more. And we're pretty new to the mechanics, so we die a lot.
Yeah, in the beginning, it's all about like how quickly you can get those golems down so that you can get into the corners for the dragon, right? For Lucid, that's mainly the important part.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think this shit is set up pretty well. Looks like a very, very solid foundation to build off of. There's some very clear things that you can do with this character to definitely get the stat up quite a bit. I mean, we have the Star Force events and the DMT coming. Main thing is going to be to... Yeah. Well, I mean, a huge roadblock for a lot of characters now is getting the Helix gear, right? That's... I mean, it's not like a roadblock. It's not like you need it, right? Because KMS doesn't have it and they can progress. But we've come to rely on it in GMS. And getting that 30 boss and 30 IED, that usually gives you the liberty to go for way more damage on your weapon secondary emblem. And not to have to be as min-maxed out on your Legion for a lot of characters. You already have that Legion foundation, so it's not as important for you. But those pieces still are... That set bonus is still incredibly strong, of course. So that is something, that plus the Sweetwater pieces will allow you to move out completely from the alien and the boss accessory pieces, which then can be relegated to drop or meso gear, which I guess you're mainly going to be getting drop gear and nothing and damage gear, right? Because of you have the Kana for farming.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to ask you about actually. Or I guess you just kind of answered it. It wouldn't be worth it to get Meso gear on like anything that's not the Kana?
So it totally depends on how you want to spend your money, because you can also use the Kana for like a while to get everyone up to like a basic level of being able to kill, and then once they can, you just make the money with the character itself and then keep going on. That's definitely possible because you're only one person and you can only play one character at a time, right? So wherever you decide that you want to play that time, that depends on like how many totems can you get a month. Like, do you play more than the amount of totems? Do you have a lot of time left at the end of a month where you don't have totems anymore, but you still want to play and you still want to make progress? Then a Kana is ideal to just fill in that gap, make a bunch of money at the same time. Maybe have the Kana be stronger as like a support character as well that can do bosses, but at the same time make money that you can then flexibly use on any other character in the account later. But like I said, it comes down to time allocation and how serious you are about the game, right? And if it already has Meso gear, then you might as well just do that and focus more hardcore on the EXP on the characters. I personally don't have that side character because I don't play that much, because I don't even fill out all my totems. So I rely on the income from the bosses and from whatever character I'm training on to try to get Meso obtain gear there as soon as possible, so that when I'm training I make a decent amount of money as well. And then combined with the Legion coupons, right, that makes a lot of cash, which you can do if you have a lot of Legion coins. But it seems like you're using them up pretty well.
Yeah, I think a lot of it goes to like epic potential scrolls whenever I decide to play that new character. So
yeah, I never buy those personally.
The Kaiser and Dual Blade were pretty recent, so it just ate up all my coins.
I see. So personally, I never buy those. I buy the well, what I do is, because of the bossing, you get a lot of Master Craftsman cubes, and I just always trickle those down to other characters just to get all the items to epic, basically, that way. And then use the cold cubes afterwards to re-roll them. So I never like brute force a character. I kind of just like throw resources that aren't required yet on the main onto the next character until a character gets to a point where like now it's really close, and if it's like 1 or 2 items off, it doesn't even have to be epic, you know. It's kind of like your dual blade, right? If you have some legendaries and some uniques and some epics, then a few items can stay rare. It doesn't really matter, right? It'll just compensate. And then eventually either you get an epic potential scroll on the character itself, or if the game gives you an epic potential scroll from something, you just want to get it on a certain character. But in your head you have like a general priority of like, this is the one that is taking up most of the resources now. And then once that one's done, it starts generating more resources, and then you can start trickling that down onto another one. And it basically snowballs into a whole bunch of weekly resources that rain down on another character. And that's the other great thing about being able to build out like a network of bossers, because you don't really need to rely, and then for my situation, that's because that's how I want to play. You don't really need to rely on that farming character as much anymore, because not everything needs to come from mesos anymore. It can come from I don't know what, always forget what the English word for this is. I don't know if you guys have that, but it's basically because it comes in blocks that are not I guess non-fungible, right? Like you can't move it into not transferable into currency. You just use it straight up as that. Because a lot of times people see a bossing wheel as like, okay, you make X amount of mesos from boss crystals, but there's so much more value in all the other stuff as well if you add all of that up.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, when it comes to Legion coins, it's definitely about like picking your battles with which things you want to speed up on. It all comes down to time, right? Time is your ultimate resource for all these things. It's like how much time do you want to spend on what, and how many coins do you generate over time passively, right? And if you, because I think, how much is an E-pot? Is it like 300 coins?
Yeah, 300.
Yeah, that's quite pricey. Because that's the same as like 4 half-hour coupons, right? So that's like a 2-hour session on a totem.
Yeah.
So that's how I see it, you know. And how much money are you going to make in extra with the coupons in a 2-hour session, plus using that money on Monster Craftsman cubes? How much of that money is going to be needed to get one item to Epic, right? That's kind of how I look at it. Plus, you make a lot of money when you're turning, especially if you have Meso gear on it. But that's going to depend. If you get to an area and you really, really enjoy training on a character and you want to go hard on the character, it'll just depend on how much you play in a month, right? So I guess when it comes down to that, like how many totems do you use in a month? Like, do you find yourself running out of totems by like the 15th or before that, and then you have a bunch of month left, or?
I definitely like. It's not like consistent every month, but I've never run out of totems.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And do you get close at all, or is it not even close?
There was like 1 month where I had like probably 3 left, but that's when I was grinding a lot of Legion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you have a lot of opportunity.
I don't think I could ever like empty out on totems. That's just so much.
Mm-hmm. And the other way that Kana is really good is if you have a very irregular schedule and you don't really have those large stretches of time, or you don't want to do those large stretches of time of 2-hour sessions, and you just have like
for sure.
30 minutes here, 15 minutes there. Then a Kana can be very valuable, of course, just to fill in those gaps to get some resources. But I guess on the flip side, you can also use that time very well to do a few simple dailies here and there to get them done, to get some progress on your characters. Like the main thing I would focus on, especially on the low level characters, is just to get Choo Choo and Vanishing Journey, like, you know, to access Reverse City and Reverse Yum Yum, so you can just do the areas symbols for those 2 areas, because that's just so many symbols a day.
Yeah.
And so in 22 and 23 a day, that's 45 symbols per day just for those 2 areas. That's a lot. Making sure you do at least that for like the 2 characters that you're most passionate about that's definitely priority, I would say.
Okay.
And then as many extra areas as you feel like, you know, is healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it all comes down to what you enjoy. Like a lot of these characters are set up to become successful very easily. You know, some need a little bit more work because of outdated stuff like the Mihail. But then again, it does have more legendary and unique stuff as well, so that is a very solid foundation. It doesn't seem super overfunded in any wrong direction, so it's just a redirect rather than a complete 180 on this stuff. So that doesn't even seem bad at all. Yeah, I mean, before you try to commit to anything like that with the Mihail or something, I would always. Are you still doing weekly bosses on it?
Yeah, I do weeklies on it.
But you enjoyed the changes?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's the reason why I was considering like funding it again instead of just as a boss meal.
I guess well, being a boss meal kind of funds it in a way, right? Because of all those resources. Do you have one character that you mainly want to funnel everything into now? Would it be the dual blade at this point?
Yeah, I think it'd probably be the dual blade, honestly.
You're just still trying to get a badge, but that shouldn't be too bad. Like a few HMAG runs should guarantee one of those.
Oh, I got that just now, actually.
Yeah. I guess the other thing is also deciding where to buy the heart, right? That's a pretty big, important decision because you can only get one. So.
Yeah, I'll probably put it on Shade.
Yeah, that seems, from everything I've heard, that probably seems like the best decision. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I need to start putting more time on this character instead of just my dual blade.
Mm-hmm. It just comes down to like, what do you want to achieve, right? You want to get a full arcane set, or at least on one character. What is required for that? Okay, you need the levels, you need the arcane power, you need the high boost nodes, you're gonna need the boss clears, right, to be able to even buy the droplets or get the drops. And then you're gonna need to get the droplets, which now is event currency and training, and later after, once we get the shop upgrade, will be just mesos, and then you can just buy them from the shop. So it really just comes down to playing your character, doing required dailies, and gathering money in your account, so that doesn't have to necessarily be this character, and getting boss clears with this character. And to get boss clears, you need to fill out the requirements for the boss fight, which is learning mechanics, practicing, arcane power requirements, enough damage requirements, and then finding a team that is able to do it with you, basically. So that's like the entire list of steps that you're going to need to go through to be able to get what you want. And then what does all that cost? Time. It's reboot, so it's just time. So then it comes down to allocating a certain amount of time per day, a certain amount of time per week to facilitate this. So some dailies are going to have higher priority. Some events, when they come out, are going to maybe push some of the dailies to a lower priority. Maybe getting your like simple dailies are always going to be pretty high, but some daily quests, like I don't know, like doing commercy or something, is maybe going to be pushed a little bit to the background when there's other daily and weekly stuff that will require you to be done, so you can get more droplets, like right now with the black beans and with the pink beans, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you always want to kind of reassess whenever there's an event, to be like, okay, well, what is more important now? And if the event goes away, do you go back to the old situation, or did the priority shift a little bit now because of the gains of the event? So if the main thing you're looking for on the shade is just to get stronger, to make progress, what are the resources that you could funnel into any character that you want to probably prioritize into the shade? Would be like nodes, for example, right? You can pretty much always use node on all of these characters. If the other characters are able to clear the content that they can access for now, and you can do that reasonably well, that means you can just funnel everything into the shade for now until that one gets to that position. And the the situation is that the shade wants to grow, so you need to be able to fit the role that the character is going to roll into, which means doing more research into how does the shade play, how do you move from the mid game into the late game, right? Because that's what you're going to be doing soon.
Yeah.
And that requires more specific shade knowledge that you might not have now because you've spread a little bit more thin than the average player has. The average player usually just tunnels hardcore on one character and then learns everything about that one character and then gets really good with that one character. And then because hopefully that's really fun for them, right? But if it's fun for you to play a lot of different characters, then the downside of that is that you'll miss out on some of the more nuanced, the more the detailed intricacies of how to play a certain class. Because, for example, I believe in, well, maybe not in late game, but like definitely once you get towards the end of the late game and into the end game, that even shades start adding extra boost nodes for like their second and third job skills for when they pop up with God, not Spirit Gate. What's the other one?
I think Spirit Flow.
Or Spirit Flow.
But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it does those random skills, right?
Uh-huh.
And then they want to boost even those. And I think
that really worth it? I feel like
I think it's only worth it when you have like so many slots in your view matrix that you basically don't have much else to throw in there.
Let's see. Yeah, because it's like it attacks every 2 seconds with like a random skill.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's not even that much.
No, it comes and what is much, right? What means much? That differs based on where you are and how expensive every other upgrade becomes. And the fact that we kind of know about it means that there is a point where that is the next logical upgrade to make, versus throwing a whole bunch of money at certain equip, for example.
Yeah,
and
that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah. But knowing when that breaking point is, that's an important thing to kind of orient yourself on or get familiar with, right? So that you're like, okay, this is something that exists, but I don't have to worry about that until I'm like 265 plus, all my shit is maxed. Then that's cool. Then that's the thing for later, right? Then you don't have to worry about that now. But knowing that that is somewhere in the future is good to know, just to have those things clear. So, so I guess if you're serious about the shade, I don't know, are you in like the shade Discord?
I'm not. I'm not in any Discord for like classes.
Because I mean, I have like general game knowledge, but when it comes to specifically the classes, there's a whole bunch of gaps, of course. Because I mean, even you have some characters higher level than me that are doing some content that I haven't done with those classes. So at that point, I mean, I pick stuff up, but I don't hold on to everything. Plus, there's just too many classes, right? There's 50 classes, so it's too much. So like class-specific discourse can be really good at making sure that you don't miss out on anything super specific. And most of them are equipped with very good FAQs with just like general questions answered. A lot of the stuff is pretty self-evident, you know, when it comes to like hyper skills and hyper stats and V matrix and that kind of stuff. But they can also have very specific tips on certain boss fights and requirements for certain bosses on how to deal with certain things, and that can really help you squeeze out more of that untapped potential that some classes might have, because you've already put in the work, right, to give it the class a certain amount of damage and a certain amount of gear. But it comes down to how you access that, you know, by your playstyle to actually fulfill the potential that the class has. So they can probably give you way more insight and more specific advice on how to go about that. I can give more general advice on, like, you know, what kind of equips to get and how to grow from point A to point B. But when it comes down to really accessing the character and playing it properly, that's way more specific than what I can do.
Okay.
So I mean, yeah. So that could be a very valuable resource. Plus, there's a bunch of people there that you can actively talk to and be like, "Yo, what is going on in here? Like, what do I do here?" They probably have been in that same situation and can give you some better insight when it comes to bossing and stuff. So do you kind of want to zoom in on the shade for now and kind of look at like where the shade would do well in progressing? Or are there certain general topics you want to explore first so that you can adapt that to any class that you play in the future, maybe? Because I don't know how familiar you are with my videos, with my sessions, with my links, with my commands, that kind of stuff.
I'm sorry. I'm struggling on what to decide here, because I feel like I kind of know where I need to go with the shade.
Want to get
I guess we can just,
yeah,
or I guess we can just go into it just to make sure I'm on the right track.
Yeah, because when you say I kind of know, it's good to just have that like lined up and just have it written out and just to confirm that.
Yeah.
Because you could know and you could be like 85% correct and everything, but then that 15% could be like hugely detrimental to the overall progress, for example. So that's why I'm checking. I don't know if you have seen a lot of these sessions or if you've seen a lot of my commands. It's as if you generally have that information kind of in the back of your head and you know how to access it and how to use it, you'll be fine. Like you won't make any huge mistakes. You can make some small, you know, inefficiency errors or whatever, like, but that's not a big deal as long as you're generally on the right way and you're having fun and everything is like a-okay. You just don't want to have any like major misconceptions. So if there's any concept in the game that you feel very uncomfortable with, or you're just not sure on how that exactly works, then we can get into that now. That's why I usually work more with the systems, right? I try to explain how the systems work, and then if you understand how your character works, then you can apply that system to your character, regardless of what character you're playing at that point. If we go super in depth on the character itself first, and you get that and you get those steps, then translating that from that character to another character might be hard because you don't know which steps specifically are part of the system and which steps are exceptions for your class, and then it's might be easier to make mistakes. So that's why I'm giving you like the option. If you feel like you've got all the systems kind of like worked out, it's just the adaptation of the system to the character's part, then we can get into that. If you feel like the systems itself are not clear yet, but you be okay with once they're clear to adapt it to whatever character you have, then we can do it that way.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm pretty good with like how the game works. I've been playing for a while. So, and I am I watched your YouTube progression sessions like whenever I'm just doing a totem. So I guess I get to hear that information like pretty often, I guess, kind of.
Yeah,
Or
repeats,
like,
right?
I don't think, yeah, I don't think anything should really surprise me about the game.
Okay.
So I guess we should just dive into my character.
Sure, yeah, and then based on like which steps you're putting, we'll be able to see if you're missing anything glaring, which probably won't be the case. And then it'll just be part of like details of like how far do you push in a certain direction before you move on to something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what would be from the current situation of the shade, like what would be your first idea of moving forward from this situation?
I need to get the Golix gear for sure. Replace that the alien set. Because right now I don't want to invest too much on the alien set because it's not that good anyways. So that's kind of, I feel like that's holding me back. But I mean, I definitely have time because some of my other gear could be like upgraded, I guess, or like I can invest in that gear for now.
Is it an option to do? Because 230 is like pretty low to do Helix, right? But is it an option to do Hardlux, Helix together with those friends?
Oh yeah. We do Helix daily, or we try to.
Yeah.
I think we haven't been playing much in the past week, but yeah, Helix was definitely a daily thing, and it was pretty quick too for us.
Yeah, because a lot of people kind of don't do that, right? They usually just get carried until they can solo, but it's very good to do as a party boss. Everyone gets their coins because they're instanced, and then there's a chance of the drops very early on, so getting a Helix party together. I know the game isn't very party-oriented anymore, but the faster you can start doing a Helix, the better, because it's a huge increase to your character's progression. Okay, yeah, so that's definitely something to do, because the main thing is the ring, right? Like, for the set bonus, it not having potential is a huge setback.
Yeah.
And they're expensive to upgrade. High level star forcing and recubing costs a lot. And would you be considering, based on all the information and what we just talked about with like, you know, time allocation, would you be considering going for Meso gear, or would it just be straight up just going for damage just to keep pushing on?
I think Meso gear is probably worth because if I get it on a character that I'm grinding, like I can get both EXP and Meso at the same time instead of just getting Meso from my Kana.
Yeah, that's what I enjoy. Yeah, it depends on how far you're going, right? If you're just gonna do like the next 5 levels, you might not make back that money, and then it's kind of like wonky investment. If you know you're gonna get to 250 or to 255 or to 260, you know, you said that you want like a full Arcane set. That's probably gonna be up to 260 before you get that, right? 260, 265 probably. Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's a lot of droplets. Plus, it's a lot of time of rolling those bosses. Unless you say, like, I'm going to go to 250, just park myself at 250, fund enough to be able to get into Hard Lucid and Hard Will, and then focus more on another character, and then this one is just going to be like a weekly bossing thing. Then you can do it as well. But then basically you're going in the time span of getting to 260 or 265. You're staying at 250, but it's still going to take that time span that you would usually take if you're actively maining the character before you get the full set, because it's weeks and weeks of clearing those bosses. It's 2 or 3 drops a week, right? You need 12 for an equip, 24 for a weapon. So it's just a bunch of weeks of running the bosses. But yeah, you can park at 250. You know, if 260 or 265 is like too daunting of a commitment, you can definitely get to 250 and be valuable in Hard Lucid and Hard Will. And then, you know, depending on how strong your party members are and if you can get full party and all that. That's what I do with some characters. Like, I park them at certain content, and then when I'm happy with what they can do, then I move on and focus more on another character. So I have characters in like different stages of the game. A few that can go up to CRA, a few that can go up to, you know, like CPAP and Akechi maybe. A few that can include Lotus and Damien, and then a few that can go into Lucid and Will. And then you, depending on what content you want to do, you always have something that can do it without getting carried and without carrying, basically. But I don't know if that's something that you want to do.
Wait, would it take too long to get Arcane gear from just running the normal Arcane bosses?
So normal is usually 1 drop per week, sometimes 2, but usually 1. So if you want to get like So you kind of do the same approach with like with Lotus and Damien, right? Where you get the weapon and the shoulder from the Will shop, and then the other 3 pieces from the Lucid shop. So you need 36 from each. So if most weeks you're getting 1 drop, that's 36 weeks of running.
Yikes. Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes you'll get 2, but you can't really count on that from normal.
Okay. Isn't it like a big jump in funding from like normal to hard though for those bosses?
Yeah, a lot of that comes from levels and slots and building out your Legion. A lot of that funding will also come from the Arcane Power. You get a lot of stat from Arcane Power. Like comparatively, if your Arcane Power is max, that by itself is the same stat as the total stat that your Shade has now. 13.2k will just come from symbols. That comparative with upgrading everything, you can get settled into... yeah, if you want to be like one of the bigger attackers in like the hard boss party, you probably want to be going towards 40k. 40k stat.
Jeez, okay.
Yeah. But for normal, you can definitely like if you're like approaching 20, then you're doing absolutely fine.
Okay.
So that is a significant jump for sure. Yeah. And that kind of depends on like what do you want to reach, but also like how long are you willing to take to get to that point. You won't see too many people in like full arcane set at 20k stat. Doesn't really happen, right? Because it just makes more sense to keep leveling and to keep growing and to keep making all your gear stronger. And then as a support, you can be a little bit on the lower end, of course. But if you also want to be doing the damage during the burst, then you will be growing. There's definitely this huge jump that you'll make, like being around 13-14k stat. You'll be there for a while, and if you spend a lot of money, get all the stuff to 17 stars and work more on legendaries, before you know it, like you'll just be almost double that stat. You'll get to like 25k stat pretty quickly, and then you'll basically be there a while until you start hardcore star forcing stuff, and then you may basically make the jump into like low 30k stat, and then it's all about getting 2.5 line potential on everything. And working on your flames, and then that will bring you up to 40. And then, if you want to move beyond that, that's when you go like full arcane. That's when you go full min-maxing 21 stars on like everything, and min-maxing out your potentials, min-maxing out your flames. And that's when you get to like early 50s in case stat. But a lot of that comes from Legion and Links, and your arcane symbols are huge. And also by that point, you'll get into 260 and stuff, and then the sacred symbols will start coming in, and then you get a decent amount of stat from that as well.
Okay.
But yeah, it can look very daunting now to be like, yeah, just triple your stats, just go to 40k. That's not an overnight process. That's a long process. But getting all of those drops through like the normal bosses is also going to be a long process. Plus, you typically don't do normal will until you're like 245-ish, right? Because will is 250, and like I said, like that bonus damage for sacred power is 1140, so that just takes a long time to get to that point. A lot of dailies and a lot of levels, and usually by that point, when you have those levels, you have those dailies, and you have that damage, by that point parties are usually ready to start moving from normal lucid into hard lucid, and then you basically go from running normal lucid to running normal will and hard lucid together. And then if you keep growing as a party and you get normal will like completely locked down, usually by that time everyone's around 250, doesn't have bonus loss damage on will anymore, or made that arcane power that they didn't have yet and reached 1140, and then you can do hard lucid and hard will together.
Okay, I see.
And that might not be self-evident for you because you're allocating your time now over too many characters. It sounds like an attack, but like over more than one character, so that just because you're playing over a longer period of time doesn't necessarily mean that you will gain levels, right, for you, because you could be allocating it to other characters, but for other people it will. So that's kind of like when you're no arcane drops from hard lucid and up. Don't run hard lucid. Drops arcanes might not drop right now. Oh, are they gone? Oh, yeah. Dude, why do they half implement things? Is it because they changed it to boxes, but the boxes don't, but the boxes are not in the drop table right now? Nice. We'll have to double check that, I guess. Sorry, as a little side note. More motivation to get to that point, because of all the bugs you can run into, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you seen the progression grid with the stages of the game and everything? Because I guess if you
For like the
listen to
stats and stuff.
yeah.
I haven't taken a close look. I think I have a general idea, but I know it's there.
Yeah, because this is also kind of connected. So the main purpose of this is not, to feel like you're inadequate or something, or that you need to work super hard on things. The main thing for this is to kind of give you a look into the amount of funding that is required, roughly, to do content around that level, and also what is the content in that level that you get access to, right? So like the dailies and the bosses, it's very hard to say like you need 6k range and then you can do this, and you need 1 million range and then you can do this, right? Because you play a lot of different characters, so you know probably more than a lot of people like how range is very misleading, right?
Yeah.
One character can have 2 mil and the other one can have 3 mil, and then the 2 mil character does like 10 times the damage of the other one. It doesn't make any sense, right? So to kind of gauge like what is funding, what is being strong, what do you need? That's why I have these numbers, because if you roughly can approximate all of these numbers, then that translates to your level being the indicator, right? Then being I'm 220, that means 220, then you can do these things, right? Or you can start trying to do these things. These are content around your level. Oh, you're 240 and you do meet all these requirements, you're in the ballpark for these numbers. Then that means you can do the stuff around that level, and that's content around your level. So as long as you're roughly near that, and you'll have some that are higher, some that are lower, like your Legion will probably be higher than the average, right, for that stuff a lot of times, and some other stuff might be lower, specifically the Arcane power. So you'll have to find some ways to make up that Arcane power, and sadly, like you've already indicated, it gets increasingly difficult. Lucid is definitely going to be viable. 540 is not that crazy. That's definitely doable with a lot of your characters, but if you want to get to Will, that 1140 is steep, very steep.
Yeah, okay.
I think the base is 760 for basic damage, and then plus 50%, right? 380 to 1140 for the bonus damage. So, yeah, at least 760. That's like the bare minimum, and level 245 if you want to do well. So that's kind of the commitment you're looking at if you want to get full arcanes, at least for normal clears. There's of course a good chance. There is a chance that you get maybe a weapon drop before then, that you do lucid, you start lucid way earlier. You maybe get to hard lucid, so you can get more drops, 2 or 3 per run, and then you rely solely on like normal will for the 12 drops. That can happen, right? But it's just not a guarantee. But the droplets going to be able to be bought from the shop for Meso. That's not a 100% guarantee, but that was what happened in KMS, right? They came out with a store after the on-air, the live event.
Yeah.
That will mean that it's pretty, you can just have Meso and trade them for droplets, and that's pretty straightforward. So that also means that you don't have to go as hard on drop or Meso gear when you're training on the main character. I just like it, especially if you're like, I'm with it. This commitment makes sense to me. I'm going to be on this character at least to 245, at least to 250, or maybe even if I like it a lot, up to 255. Because then you can get bonus damage on will and everything. You can kind of overcompensate for the arcane power if you're losing that. Then I would say it's always worth to get drop and Meso gear. You'll make that money back for sure. Plus, it'll be more rewarding when you train, because you can see big numbers, and as much as you try to not let your personal mental state be dependent on how big the numbers are, it be remiss to say that it doesn't happen. That doesn't help, right? But then I would also specifically try to save up more Legion coins for the purpose of like doing sessions and totems and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I should probably be doing totems with the Meso coupons, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't really do that. Because I usually just buy the EXP coupons if I don't have it from anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, those would be the most important ones. Yeah, Meso and the EXP one. Yeah.
And also with that the droplets coming to the regular shops, that the change with the set effects are supposed to come as well, right?
Yeah.
With the Arcane and the Absolab,
yeah.
so you can mix them. Okay.
Yeah, that might be able to give you a pass on not needing to switch to the full set and kind of just bypassing that part. But I mean, weapon upgrade is always a good idea. That's always a huge chunk of your damage for both mobbing and bossing. So that's probably going to be. Well, I guess we were talking about like the general progress of what you were you were going to go through, right? But we were talking about the accessories first and about the Golic stuff. But then next would probably be getting the weapon up, right?
Oh yeah, I have all the boss drops for the coins. I just have to do the weeklies.
Yeah, that's the other thing. If you're, yeah, quote unquote, spread this thin, then you need to do a lot of the weeklies to get the Abzo and everything, right?
Yeah, and those are more tedious than Arcane dailies.
Yeah. As many as I can skip, I try to do that. Yeah. And is your secondary and your emblem, are those at like 2 useful lines or at 1? I imagine there's at least one ID line on there.
Okay, they're 3 line, but they're it's too much IED.
Right.
My emblem is 35-30 for IED, then 9 attack. And then the secondary is 30 boss, 30 IED, and 9 attack.
Yeah.
But my weapon is also pretty good, but it's that unique. It's at 20 boss, 30 boss, then 6 attack.
Yeah, it makes sense that you would keep that then. It's not worth like tearing up at that point, because that's that's like solid. That's solid WSE for this situation. And you can say like, oh, that's too much ID, sure, but like in 99% of other cases, you would have ID and attack and nothing on a 3rd line. So if you can choose between that and this, then you always choose this. So
it's not
ideal.
Just not the best.
I wouldn't even say it's bad. I would say it's great for this state of the game. It's because it allows you to attack all the bosses, and you don't have to rely on that Helix gear immediately. You don't have to like min-max on epic familiars to try to get 30% ID lines or something. You could just fully commit now to the accessories and to the Abzo stuff and to all the other pieces. And you don't have to worry about connecting with the boss and being able to put out your damage. The one possible downside now is that you're pretty low on the attack percent, which means that mobbing could be the only thing that gets you in trouble. So that means arcane power boost nodes, that those are specifically important, but it's also going to be like basically getting all the stuff up to unique. But I would say priority is it's definitely getting the accessory sets in and getting the drop in Meso there. So DMT and Star Force events, both of those can be useful for that, because even with the equips that are going to be drop rate pieces initially, you can get those up to like 17 stars to make sure that they can commit some of the damage, especially if you don't want to go overboard on the Abzo. But I don't know what the Abzo is at now. Is it all like around 12 stars or?
Oh no, I got it to 15. They're all 15 plus.
Okay.
Because of the last, or not the last one, the one before this most recent, 5, 10, 15. And I've got a cape ready. I have a Ron Mark cape at 15 star, so I can just get the 16 and transfer once I get that cape.
Nice. Yeah.
And then
it'll be really beneficial once you have the weapon as well. Yeah. So you'd have to do weeklies. The benefit is that you have a lot of characters that can do the weeklies, and they're not like level 201. Like technically, I can do it, but it's like a huge issue. they're significantly stronger.
Characters,
yeah,
which is really nice.
And if you want to, that is also one of those things that I think is good to try to do with other people together, just to speed it up a little bit. Plus, it just makes it feel like it goes by way faster, even if it technically takes longer, because you're helping each other and you go to double the maps. I feel like it just makes the whole content easier to do and just feel like it's going by faster if you're doing it together with someone. And most people will need the exchange. You'll be in a kind of like a privileged position there. A lot of people have like 1 or 2 characters they can do it on, and another character that they can do it on, whereas like level 201 and can't kill anything for shit, but they still want to get the extra pieces to upgrade their Abzos, or to upgrade to Abzo. But I mean, that depends on you and your availability, of course, if you can find someone else who wants to do that. But yeah, that's like the biting the bullet on that one. It's a necessary evil to get to those pieces. But yeah, full Abzo on this one will be a huge benefit. And then for accessories, yeah, you already have those are all real pieces, right? Or is that like a compensation dominator that I'm looking at?
Oh no, that's real. It's at 15 stars as well.
Yeah. Yeah, getting
I didn't know that.
What, that it was a real one? Or that it was 15?
No, that it was 15.
Oh.
I should have bumped it to 16 with the event, but it's whatever.
Yeah, that's the other downside of having like a lot of characters. You do kind of lose track on where every single piece on every single character is. It becomes impossible to keep track once it's like north of 3 characters. Even at 3, it starts getting a little bit like, what do I again? What was I cubing again? What was I flaming again? Well, yeah, once you go to like 5 or 6 characters, it gets... You need like a spreadsheet, honestly.
Yeah, I should probably keep track of everything.
There's been some sessions where people had like giant spreadsheets where it's like, okay, that doesn't all need to be like tracked. It's more of a, I just think it's fun to do and it looks nice. But something like and especially if you're trying to, you know, manage your time properly and you have a lot of options to spend, it's okay to make like a list of, okay, on this character I'm doing these 2 things, on this character I'm doing 1 thing, these characters right now not doing anything, this character I'm doing all of these dailies, and that's just my general checklist for the day, you know. And then you can always look in the beginning of the day like what's on the menu for the day. Am I doing weekly bosses on this character, dailies on this one, and then a few event stuff on another one, just to get it organized. And then like a general progress of like, what is the next goal for this character, what is the next goal for this character, especially when event comes up. I do try to do that as well because I have my exclamation mark gains. It's not like in a huge file that has like literally everything on it, but I do like for star forcing, I make like one of these little grids things, and I make some notes every now and then because if I forgot something, which I did on my Demon Avenger, where it's like what am I gonna be working on the next event basically, so that I can keep track of every character to slowly bring them all up, right? Because the thing is, once you get really far in a character, it's like, oh, the next upgrade is like 80 bill. It's like, okay, well, I'd rather spend like 10 bill on this other character and make like 300 times the gains there. So that's kind of when the value of money and the value of your time comes back into play, where you want to reassess, you know. But if you're just working up to 250, it's all pretty straightforward, and you don't ever get to that point where it's like, okay, now every upgrade is like hundreds of billions. You don't get to that point ever if you're just working up to 250 into the hard bosses at this stage. It'll be basically if you're trying to jump past that point, you're trying to get to Tenebra's bosses and stuff, that's when it gets pretty significant, and that's when you're going to reassess, like, do I still want to do this with the Shade? Am I going to make that jump as well? And like for Versehilla, you want to get up to max arcane power, you know? Like that's going to take a while anyway. Or do it kind of take the foot off the gas, keep doing dailies just to push forward the arcane power and just still work on the nodes slightly. But mostly, you know, start moving on to another character. And then the general progress of the account is going to be similar. It's just going to be at a different pace. I guess the question is for the other accessories, if you want to go into the Sweetwater pieces now immediately, if you have the Narrows, or if you're going to just stick with these, getting drop and Meso on these, and then just roll with that for a while until you're going into full Helix, full Sweetwater, and then switch them all out and go for damage on that. That's kind of up to you if you want to do like a more hybrid set now. It'll basically depend on how many Narrows you have, I would say.
I don't run Commercy at all on my Shades, so I think I would just get the Helix gear first and then look into Sweetwater, but that'll take a lot of time for sure to get all that Dinero.
Yeah, that's a thing where you wanna have that idea beforehand and then act accordingly. So I feel like I don't ever want to really get I don't like that content, I just don't want to do that. And then you have to look for alternatives, right? Like for the eye, you can get the Black Beam mark. That one is sufficient for quite a while. You can get it up to 20 stars, so like getting it up to 18 or 19 is pretty low risk, like considering. So that would take a lot of weight off of the Dineros. And then you can say like, I'm going to just get the tattoo, and then maybe, you know, if you just get the tattoo, you get the full Helix pieces, and maybe you get a nice Dominator, then you're like, okay, I want to transpose Dominator, and then you go back. You can do it that way. Or you can say now is like, no, I need those pieces, I want those pieces, and then just slowly start doing Commercy, start incorporating it into your dailies. As long as something is like in your dailies list and you do it most of the time, then it's okay if you skip a few days. Like, it's no problem. The problem is if something is not standard part of your dailies and you only do it every now and then, it just won't really work that way, you know? Like, if you need to do the dailies for a month, if you do it every day, that seems like, oh, that's not that much work. I'm just going to do it like once a week. Well, now it takes 7 months, you know? Like, that's, which is forever. So that consistency will be important, but you have to know how consistent can you be with it. Do you want to be with it? And then based on that, make your plan. Like, if that's going to require you to do it every single day for like, or every other day for like 3 months, and that's something that you don't want to do, then make another plan that you do want to do, you know, that's considerable. So like, a lot of people do go for the black bean mark, because once you're doing Chaos Pink Bean and you have some drop rate, it's a decent drop rate. So that'll be a very good alternative. The tattoo just doesn't really have alternatives. So that's, I would say, get at least enough dineros for a tattoo. And then for the pendant, like, you can do a superior and the dominator as your 2 pendants. That's not bad, you know. It's just like not as good as a transposed Sweetwater, but it's still pretty good. It can probably get you there. The thing is just like star forcing and the risking and the extra tier and etc. etc. But maybe by that time you're like, okay, all the other... It can also be like, as you're working up to that a lot of other dailies kind of fall away and that they're not as important anymore. And then you're like, oh, I have some time here. Now I can fill it up with Commercy, because now I'm starting to feel like it will be good and it will be more important to have that transposed pendant. And then you squeeze that daily in, you know. Maybe there's an event that's kind of dead and it's not for you. Then you can take that time, do a little bit more Commercy daily and get those dineros flowing, because a pendant is 400, I believe. So that's, yeah, it's just really expensive. A lot of dailies. And we can't just buy them in the auction house, Sally.
And with the tattoo, do you have to? Is there anything to transpose with that, or
no,
do you just get it?
Just straight up, okay. Yeah. And the next step is the Berserk. So that item slot is very limited in access.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'll just go with the black bean mark then and the tattoo, and I'll leave the pendant. Because actually, I think I've been pretty unlucky with the black bean mark on this character. I don't think I've gotten a single one, unless I might have tossed it for whatever reason, but it's definitely something I need. Because yeah, what is it, like the 8 stars on that Zakum one is so bad.
Yeah, that doesn't do all that much. If it was already unique or so, I would say push it to drop or Meso and then worry about the other stuff later. But if it's just epic, like epic is that's like super easy to achieve, so I don't value that very highly. So I would consider just at this point, just like cutting it off at the knees and just going straight up for the other piece and dedicating immediately to the other piece. That way you lose very little current investment and then you have better rate of return on the other one. But the main thing about getting the black beam marks is just having more drop rate, right? So working on the accessories that you already have that are unique and getting those up to legendary, working on drop rate or Meso and starting from there will increase the drop rate for the other pieces, and then it's gonna snowball. You'll get more Kana rings, you'll get more dominators, you'll get more what did we just talk about? Oh yeah, black beam marks, right? Those will just start coming more and more, and that'll make it easier to make certain decisions on amount of backups and stuff that you have. Then if you get a superior and you already have a kind of treasure, you can just do the other kind of treasure. Don't have the safeguard, that kind of stuff, and just transfer it if you want. You know, you'll be able to make that kind of decisions, and you'll give yourself more options by having more drop rate and more Meso obtain.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I should be able to get legendary with DMT. I'm gonna focus on the accessories, I guess, for this character.
Yeah, it's basically like WSE, then accessories, then Abzo, then everything else, kind of, for when it comes to the potential. And then usually after that, it's like damage gear that comes in. But at that point, those are the only things you can still get to legendary, because everything else pretty much will. And, yep. You've got you've got all the dates clear, right, on when the Star Force events are and when to use which one?
Yeah, I think so. I was in the most recent patch notes. I know there's 30% this weekend, and then like 5, 10, 15 at the very end of the event or something like that.
Yeah, there's a 30% off, and then there's, I think, 1 week gap, and then I believe then there's a 2-for-1 Star Force event, like up to 12. So you can use that one if you because you have a decently big Legion, right? There might be a bunch of characters there that don't have all their stuff like Star Forced up yet. You can get a bunch of stuff to like 12 stars there to make some gains in your Legion raid power to make more coins as well. That might be beneficial for you. I don't know how the Star Force for all of your mules are, so that's something that you might want to consider. And then there's a 5, 10, 15 after, yeah, and then way on the end of the event, there's another 30% off.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, there's like 4 in the next 8 weeks.
Okay.
4 Star Force events.
I think I'll probably just not do anything this 30% then, because I want to save for DMT and go hard there.
Yeah, and this guy mostly had 15s already, right, on the important pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just good.
And that does mean like foregoing some possible gains on the other characters, but you gotta like grow up now, right? And commit to this character, and
yeah, I should put more time into Shade.
Yeah, if that's what you really want to do and you wanna get those goals, it's just it's either that or start playing like 100 hours a week, right? Which is like the is the other option.
Yeah.
But of course, life and stuff will not always allow that. So, yeah.
And yeah, Maple gets boring sometimes too, or like pretty stale. So.
Unless when you switch character, right? Then it never gets boring.
Yeah, that helps, but yeah, it's not always fun to play, I guess.
No. And every single character you play is in the same area, So then, even though you're playing through a different lens, you're still playing the exact same content. So.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why I was saying like I have different characters and then also at different stages of the game, so it never feels like you're super overpowered for any of the content you're in. If you're in the same content, you can always move to different areas that are like testing your limits basically. But you have the nice inner-ability here, so that's a good foundation. That's a general thing I saw, is that your inner-abilities in general are really nice. Like,
oh yeah,
Kaiser
that's why I think I kind of have to commit. I got pretty lucky on these inner abilities, so I think might as well just go with it.
Yeah, but even the Kana one and the Dual Blade one are also really good. Like the only one that I guess can use some work is the Mihail one, but all the other inner abilities seem really, really solid.
Yeah.
That's always nice because those are annoying to roll a lot of the time.
Yeah, it took me so long to get +1 attack speed on the Shade.
Yeah, I got the same thing as you now on my Cannoneer because I got lucky on the well, I say lucky, but I've spent so much on circulators over the time of me playing that I think I'm still below average on luck on that. But finally hit that 20% crit on the Cannoneer as well, and then it took me almost 3 mil on 50% off to just lock the crit and to get back my attack speed.
Oh jeez.
Massive, yeah. So now I'm just YOLOing every event. There's also another one of those events coming out. 50% off inner ability. There's a 50%. There's a 5 times Magnificent Soul event coming. There's pretty much one of everything on the way. And 2 training events, I think, of like double Rune EXP and 300% on the orbs and stuff like that. So those Sundays are going to be good for training. Yeah.
Alright, so I guess since I've kind of decided to focus on Shade now, do you think it would take a lot more funding to push my Dual Blade and Kaiser to normal low mean solos? Because I think I could probably stop them there if I do want to keep playing, but if it'll cost too much, I guess I could just stop where they are at like CRA and like HMAG and stuff.
Do you have access to high level guild skills?
Yeah, all these characters except the Kana and Mihail have guild skills available.
Like at least the last 2 maxed, right? Like the damage and the boss damage one?
Yeah, they have full crit damage, full percent damage, I think,
Or
and a little bit of boss damage.
Yeah,
So
because that's very important for like the level of funding that you need. Because that's a huge boost to get those two. That'll save you like billions in funding needed to. Well, like that's going to be basically the difference between being able to kill the bosses in like a 30-minute run, versus being like 10 to 15-minute runs, or maybe even being able to squeeze both of them out within like one set of the guild skills, right? Which is the difference I think between something being possible versus something being realistic to do on a weekly basis, because otherwise you're just hurting yourself, and you might as well just spend that time training on your shade and making more money and EXP, right? I guess you've got cooldown and luck on the hat, 20 drop ring, no 15 star. Yeah, you could definitely use that that later 30% off, right? And by the time you've recouped some money and spent everything on your shade, basically, use that later 30% off and the money you made until then to dump that into the dual blade to catch that one up. I think the main thing is going to be getting a nice Katara on there. And then getting...
I actually got, I transposed to a Sweetwater on my dual blade.
Ah, nice.
So it's in a good spot now, and it's unique with like 2-line attack.
Okay, that's already nice.
So yeah, I guess the dual blade's outdated because I played that the most.
I see. And is most of the stuff
Kaiser's
epic there, or?
accurate. Yeah, I think almost everything's epic now except for like the belt.
Okay.
And I also got a Tyrant cape today.
Nice. And the badge, right? Yeah, you said that.
One. Yeah, and the badge.
Yeah, so with the badge, and then everything epic or in 6%, or if it's unique, going up to 9%.
Yeah.
Did you figure out where you're going to take the event ring?
Oh, that's a good question, actually. Should I throw it on my shade to replace the Silver Blossom? Or I guess it would be a damage ring. Because my Silver Blossom's unique, so I might as well get that as like drop gear or Meso gear.
I mean, you have like the Ephios ring will eventually be phased out. The alien ring doesn't even get potential, so that needs to be phased out, and you don't have the spear stuff yet. So there's definitely room on the shade for the event ring. And then the dual blade is using one of those like wonky Silent Crusade rings, right? That doesn't really do much.
Oh yeah, it's just there for stars.
Yeah, exactly. I have that too. Don't worry. That's the part of the the handicap of being a Legion main, is that you want to squeeze out that raid power, right, for the extra with the extra star force.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, either would work. I think if you want to mainly focus on the shade, that'll just take some weight off of the funding of the shade and needing to get the Meister early and all of that stuff, or needing to get the slime ring. So I think it works either way, whatever you want to decide. I would probably put it on the shade in the spirits of committing, as like a symbolic gesture of this is the one that I'm going to be aiming for. But either way could work. I don't know if the dual blade would need it. If you get most of the stuff, epic like 6%, unique 9%, and mainly the WSE, getting up to legendary with useful lines, and you have access to guild skills, that should be decent on the runs for Lotus and Damien. Probably want to get it up to like, because how long do you take now on the shade to do Lotus and Damien?
I get it done within like 25 minutes, I would say, for both of them. So I do it in like one set of guild skills and monster park potions.
Yeah, that was it. Like, okay, wow. Yeah, because I remember from the olden days, I would take like almost a full, like a 220 at like 17k stat. I would take like a full guild skills to do one of the two on my cannoneer. But we've got some power creeps instead.
Yeah, I think the final damage buff helped a lot.
Yeah. So I mean, I would be aiming towards that level of funding then of your shade right now, right? So like something towards like 13, 14, 15ish k stat should be enough to be able to do decently those bosses, I think. Which I assume that you're already like closer to 10k now, right? Or just over 10k maybe.
On the dual blade, yeah, I think it's sitting at like 10.5 or something.
Yeah, so anything. So I think the stuff that isn't 15 yet, bumping that up to 15 with like the last 30% off, you know, to make sure that you're not allocating your resources to that too heavily now, so you can fully commit on the shade. But when all of those events are down, 30% off won't really help you on the shade on anything, right? And then you can use the 30% off to make sure that your both your dual blade and your Kaiser at least have all of the stuff 15 that you eventually want to get to 17. And then it's going to be a matter of just doing the bosses that you can, saving up resources, and then when a 5, 10, 15 comes around, you know, make a note somewhere, make sure that you remember what character needs what, and then just bumping that all up to 17, and that should definitely shave some time off of the Lotus and Damien times.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And they will just, quite heavily be relying on the boss success reset bonus, but there's nothing wrong with that. The dual blade has 9 set now, right? And then the Kaiser.
Yeah, I think it's sitting at 9 set.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, Kaiser is all. Yeah.
Kaiser's in a pretty good spot, I would say. I think a lot of the Abso and CRA gear is like 15 because I spent a lot on that 5, 10, 15 that just passed. And I also bought like 120 red cubes during the sale, so that'll go on that for DMT.
This one has the access to the queues? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't buy it on anyone else.
So you're going to be tiering up with red cubes during DMT, or are you going to buy some black cubes to tier up and then just roll with the reds?
I was planning to just tier up with red since I have so many, and then I'll just re-roll later, I guess.
Yeah, okay. That's...
Because I think it's more valuable to just get the tier ups and then go for like 1 line or 2 lines maybe.
Is this one still pretty much in the same situation as the picture? Like, decent amount of rare still in there?
Yeah, I haven't progressed on that.
Okay.
I just bossed for now.
Yeah, because a character could do very well if just all the pieces, like, as long as the WSE is legendary and has good lines, or in this case, you know, if it's a Figs or Lab weapon, that's also fine. And then as long as all of the most other pieces are all epic and some are unique and they're all like 6 or 9%, that's a lot of stat between all of those pieces, and that goes a long way. And then it's good. Yeah, so you could, like, during the 5, 10, 15, see if you're left with money on the shade, and then, you know, go after the Kaiser after that, because it already has 15, so at least bump everything up to 16, and then maybe some 17s if you have the money. And then from then on, save on for the dual blade for the 30% off, right? It's mostly going to be what, CRA and Abso on the Kaiser?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like 6 pieces. 6 pieces. Unless you want to get the cape there. I guess the cape would be a significant upgrade for the Kaiser, right? For the 30% boss.
Yeah, for the boss damage. Yeah, I could get the cape actually. Or it would
some weeklies
I could do
probably,
the boss
right?
runs, but yeah, the weeklies is gonna go to my shade. But I could definitely get the boss runs with my party. They just carry me on those characters.
One thing that could help is just making, like, tabulating all the total amounts that you need, like runs per character for which boss and how many of the weeklies you need to do. And then just see, like, okay, if I just do my weeklies on the characters that can do them for 2 weeks, I can be done with everything. And if you just go hard for 2 weeks, then you can just be like, okay, now I don't have to do them like ever again to get it out of your system. Or if you do like 1 or 2, again, like if you do 1 or 2 characters a week, then maybe you have to do them for like the next 6 weeks, you know? Whatever approach works for you. For some people, it's like just doing a little bit per week and then spreading it over a longer time. That works better for me. Other people are like, I'll just go hard for a little bit and then just never go there again. That works better for me. So,
yeah, I usually go pretty hard in one session. I just switch characters and go again.
Exactly, yeah. Just go again. Just be like, today we're just doing daily symbols, and then boom, we're doing weeklies. And then once those are done, then we just never come back to that stuff unless it's absolutely necessary. Yeah, and then for those, I wouldn't focus specifically on any pieces like, well, I guess on the Katara for the dual blade, right? But other than that, it's mainly just getting everything up to epic or legendary and just getting 6 and 9%. Sorry, epic or unique, and getting 6 or 9%, and basically not really needing any legendaries, because that's where a lot of the expenses are, right? Going up to legendary, like the tier up rate is very prohibitive.
Yeah.
So it's mostly going to be just like cranking out as much stat there as possible. Your 8k Legion is also pretty soon, which is pretty big, right? You get to put a lot of extra characters on the board. I did see... Wait, you were at 30 characters on your board, though, right? For your Legion? Members assigned 30 of 30. Aren't you supposed to have more?
I don't think I screenshotted some of the lower level ones. Is that what you're talking about, or?
I feel like you should be at 31. No?
I didn't do the upgrade.
Yeah, you didn't buy the last upgrade. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Just to make sure I'm not like off of it, because I feel like you go to 36, or is it even 32? Do you go to 37 when you're at 8K?
I'm not sure, but I think the 7.5K is just +1.
Yeah. The 8K is the +5, but I believe you end up at 37.
Oh, really?
So you might be 2 upgrades behind, I think, but let me check. Oh, god damn it! This shit just started playing. Stop. Oh no, 8.5 is 37. Okay, yeah, no, you're just 1 upgrade behind, yeah. Yeah, because I'm at 37 right now, okay. Yeah, because that number 37 is like in my brain now, so that's what I'm at, yeah. But because that's going to be 5 extra characters in, and they're most likely all going to be level 200 as well. So that's a pretty decent power spike as well for all your characters. But you have, yeah, you already did this Terra burn, or do you have a plan for like the next Terra burn?
Yeah, I was thinking of Arc for the level 3 link, because mine's at level 2 right now.
And it's decently low level as well. It's like a 150-ish or something.
I think like 120, 130.
Oh yeah.
It was one of my early characters, so I didn't. It's really weak. Or I guess it'd be stronger now with the Legion, but yeah, I haven't touched it in a long time.
You have the other ones like the Evan and the.
Yeah, Evan.
Mercedes.
Yeah, I have. I think I'm only missing Demon Avenger at this point for level 3 links. But that's at like 202 or whatever.
Hang on, Mercedes. Oh, you don't have the Evan level 3?
No, I do.
Wait. Dude, am I blind? It's gonna be right here, right? Oh, here. Oh, yeah, here. Yeah, right there. Oh, you're going. Okay. So this is the first one. Then this is the second one. And then it's third, fourth, fifth. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I got the order now. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, no, as long as you have those, that's the good value. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Arc would be solid, yeah. And if you want to have another character that is really cool to play and that you could possibly take away more time from your main, then that's also a great character to throw into the mix.
Another CRA mule.
Yeah, another one that's gonna be pretty easy up to 220 and then destroy bosses, you know. I don't know, man, when the boss crystal changes hit, you'll just be sitting on a gold mine. Which is not a bad...
Wait, the changes aren't in yet? I thought the boss crystals already changed.
No, that's normal value still right now.
Oh, I see.
No, they did like half of a change where they did the... they changed the crystal limit from per character to per account without changing the number for a bit. So we were like, now we're limited to 60 per account. But that was the only thing they did. What they did with this update was show you how much they're going to sell for. So that part of the change went through. But the value increase and the alteration of the value weekly based on the amount of clears, that hasn't gone through yet. That's probably not going to be until, well, either in 4 weeks or maybe in an update after. I don't know. Yeah, they're going right now. They're basically 3x the normal value, and they're going to 5x the normal value. So basically, plus 40%, right? Plus.
Oh wow.
Going to 5/3 of the current, I guess. Yeah. But then, yeah, the bosses for less killed bosses are their crystal value is gonna go up more, and then the ones that are more killed are gonna go down. So like CRA is probably gonna go down from that number, and then like Akechi, CPAP, HMAG is probably going to go up because those are typically bosses that have good value but that people find too annoying and they skip, which is, you know, relatable to your situation, right? And then Lotus and Damien I think stays roughly equal, and then everything above that goes up, like Lucid and Will and all the harder ones goes up quite a lot just because of how many people in the game don't have access to that content. But yeah, we'll have to wait until that goes through. Okay. Well, we're at just past the hour and a half mark, so I don't know if there's anything that is still glaring that you feel is still wildly unclear that we should allocate some time to.
I think that's everything. Yeah. Or one thing I wanted to ask about was like my Kana rates, and I guess kind of my Kana in general. Like, is it bad that I don't always have the Kishin up all the time? I feel like it just doesn't work out sometimes because it is RNG, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's normal. You want to limit that, of course, but I think that's normal. I don't know if people in chat have any advice on how to min-max on that.
I even have Corsair with the buff duration or summon duration. But...
What I heard some people do sometimes, if they're weak enough, they'll like just teleport around the map for a while in complete like shit gear, like enough to not die, but also making sure that they can't possibly kill anything, and just do that for a while, and but a while being like just 5 minutes or something, just to trigger the Night Ghost Guide so many times that you basically make the duration go up by like 10,000% or something in like the first minutes just by not killing, and then you just do a training session, and then you don't have to worry about it during that session at all, kind of thing.
Oh, that's interesting. Wait, can you really stack it up that fast? Isn't it just like 5 seconds per activate, I think, or something?
Yeah, but you have like the Yosuzume, you've got the knockback thing, you've got the attacks, and if you just like teleport attacking through the map, you can actually still, because the targets just don't die, so the whole map is full of monsters, so you're constantly attacking everything and triggering on everything.
That's interesting. Okay.
Don't jump attack? Yeah, that's another one. If you jump attack, you can't trigger it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so try to stay on the ground.
I think I do that a lot with like the poison thing they do with the big AoE.
The poison thing with the big AoE?
I forgot what it's called.
The Exorcist Charm? Like the circle around you?
Exorcist Charm. I forgot what they're called. It's like the second job skill or something like that. I think that might be what it's called. I don't know.
Is it a right side, right? Like the purple circle around you? Where you kind of like float and then fall back again?
Yeah. I usually jump with that to get like the higher hitbox, I guess.
I see. What you could try to do is like teleport up, use it, and then in the air of the skill, just teleport back down to the platform where you're at. That makes it almost as fast, but you'll be counted as being on the ground because you don't use it in the air.
Yeah, that might help. I didn't know that you had to be on the ground. That would probably help a lot then.
Yeah, it's similar if you're a Demon Avenger. Like, you don't create the spots for Frenzy either when you're in the air. So if you jump attack a lot, you barely get anything. So you want to be dashing over the ground because then you're constantly putting down the spots. It makes a significant difference.
And don't people make like billions an hour? Or like 1 bill an hour? I'm over here with only 700 mil, like just barely, with like everything on.
Yeah, so that's when you hear the numbers like that, it's always good to like investigate on like where are you getting that, right? Because it might be someone who's got like Lucid Soul, stacked side path, everything up, rune with duration cooldown, and then in a perfect channel, and then they make like 1,050 million or something on a wealth acquisition potion on a 2-hour session, or like an hour in a 2-hour session, with literally everything on. And that's like the peak of the highest that you can get in the game. If you get 70% of that, I would be counting my blessings, because I would be like, that's some good shit. But I'm just comparing it to training without any gear whatsoever, right? Because then you're making like 200 to 300 mil, right?
Oh yeah, it's pretty bad.
So yeah. That's what I would compare it to, compared to what money can I make on any other character in this situation. That's not to say that you can't improve and everything, but it usually comes down to the amount of monsters killed per hour. You're just limited now to what area you can be at. Like in Arcana, you can start making a lot, but you have to kill very quickly there. And then in Limina, you can still make good rates, but again, you have to be really strong there. And the arcane power there is going to be more and more a factor.
Yeah, because I was considering trying to, because I farm in Latch Lane right now, and I was thinking maybe Arcana will probably be better, but my arcane power is so bad because I don't do dailies on that class. So I was like, maybe not worth it. I don't know.
Yeah, you'd have to get to the point where you can kill faster, and arcane power is going to be very important. The boost nodes are definitely up there, so those are fine, but it's going to be mainly an arcane power diff, as our boy T1 would say. Yeah, I think 700 million hours is an insane amount of money. So I'm like probably the bad guy to ask of like, how can I get even closer to that? It's mainly going to be a matter of killing more monsters. And are you using WAPs as well?
Yeah, that's with the wealth potion.
With the wealth potion, yeah.
And the coupons, of course.
Yeah, without coupons, if you get 700 without coupons, then you're definitely doing something right, or very, very wrong. Breaking some rules to get to that. Yeah, again, for this, like Kana Discord can probably help you out as well for specifically some specific tips on which maps to go to, or what level of funding would be like that sweet spot to be able to kill there properly without overfunding, right? Because especially on this character, if you're purely in there for the farming, you definitely want to make sure you don't overfund, so that you can start getting those gains back from it ASAP. How's your secondary weapon on the Kana? Your secondary fan?
I think it's pretty good. It's a Sweetwater, I believe 17 star with like, I think it's one line of attack and then like int and all stat. Or I guess I can go check really quick.
Yeah. Because, the main thing is if you're on a farming character, you just want full magic attack, everything, right? You don't care about anything else, basically. Yeah.
I think it's sitting good with the damage it has with that arcane weapon from the compensation.
I've heard easily 900 mil at OS2. OS2. What map is that?
Where's OS2? Is that Outlaw Street too? I think.
I guess so. People make 900. Jesus, that shit's broken. Are you maybe looting too early? That can have a decent impact. If you're looting very quickly.
Wait, that's actually something I wanted to ask. How long is the loot on the ground? Because I could not find that info like anywhere.
It's 2 minutes, and then it starts disappearing. So typically, you kind of check how long it takes you to go around a map and loot. You have 3 pets, right, on the Kana?
I think I used 2.
Or 2 or 3 is pretty close. Yeah, as long as it's more than 1.
I used the Hilla.
Go around a map. Yeah, so you kind of just check how long it takes you to go around a map. For most people, it's like around 10 seconds. So if you either some people put a timer, or some people just open up a BA and then look at the time on the BA, and then when you're like 145, 150 in, you go around a map and you loot everything. And then ideally during that, you want to also see if you can use some kind of full map attack. You can use either the domain, or you can use the 4th V skill, right? To have something still killing when you're moving around the map. The other thing is also, I see your spirit domain is pretty low level. That's also pretty important, because if you level up domain, it lasts way longer and the cooldown goes down. So the uptime on domain is going to go up, which is like full map clear for quite a while.
I guess I should consider that.
And definitely more into Arcana than into, I'm not sure into Lakaline how important it is there for the uptime, but I know in general, especially if you also maybe want to boss on it later, the domain starts getting very, very important. Usually loot every time domain is up and down. Yeah, well that's the thing, yeah. So like before, as soon as domain goes up. Yeah, exactly, yeah. And the duration is very short, so that could be one thing that is actually holding you back a lot now that I see it.
Okay. I mean, you said 2 minutes, right, on the loot? Because my domain cooldown is like 3 minutes. So
yeah, so I guess what he's doing is he's like, whenever he starts domain, he's like charges it and then loots, and then when domain finishes, he loots again, and then waits until it comes back up again. So he's like looting every 90 seconds basically. Because like every 3 minutes is like, so every like 1.5 minute. So that's usually what I try to do as well. Like around the 1 minute 30 mark, like go around and loot to make sure that you don't have things expiring, because there could be droplets in those piles of bags as well, right? You don't want to like risk losing those. But that's with max domain. So if you don't have max domain, you got to find something else that gives you like an indicator. So either a timer or the BA with the time on it can be useful there.
Okay.
Yeah,
because I think I usually loot like every 30 seconds when the big summon goes down, or like the fourth summon goes down.
And that loses you, basically, if you loot 1/3 of the times that you're doing now, you still won't lose any bags, so you'll gain twice the amount of time that you're spending looting in killing by waiting longer. So that optimization could definitely help you. The other thing is, do you have 67% total drop rate?
Yeah. I have 100% Meso and drop.
Yeah, okay. And you have decent holy symbol and the invulnerability, yeah, so you're definitely on, Yeah, just to make sure every monster always drops a bag, right? Because that could be a factor as well.
Yeah. And wait, do you think the 15 nodes per hour is also kind of on the low side? Because I feel like my drop rate, I think it sets at like 200% when I have like the wealth potion on and everything.
Sorry, how many did you say? 15?
Yeah, 15. It feels kind of low. I don't know, or maybe nodes are just that hard to come by. I don't know.
So I'm not familiar with the Luckline levels. I know that on the upper end, with people who are doing like everything in Limina, they're looking at like 50.
Does the drop rate increase as like you go farther down?
It's more. No. It's just like killing more monsters. You know, it's just like more monsters killed. 15 per hour or per 2 hours? Per hour, right?
That's per hour.
Yeah, so like 30 on a totem. It feels like the per hour you want to be closer to 20 to 25, I think. You might just be like horribly unlucky, but I don't know.
Well, I don't farm that often, so maybe I just got unlucky like the few
Possibly.
times
Do you have a drop rate familiar?
Yeah, I have the large spider. The old one.
With spider and 100%?
It goes up to 180 without the wealth potion, and then the wealth potion is an extra 20. I guess I could throw in drop coupons as well. Does that stack with
With like familiar? Yeah, it stacks with familiar. Yeah.
I guess I could try that,
but then
200 to 250, is that really worth?
yeah. Well, and the Legion coin is limited resource as well, right?
Yeah. I don't want to spend all the coins too.
Maybe he's farming on a bad channel and bad ping, so it's just shit rates. That's possible. Are you familiar with like the prime channels and the non-prime channels?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm usually on like 6, 8, or 10.
Yeah, so, but apparently people are doing Outlaw Street 2, and you're on Outlaw Street 3, right? So that could also make a difference.
That's weird. I feel like 3 is like the summons have better spots. I guess maybe there's less mobs though. I don't know.
It's possible. You can always just do a BA, right? Just do like half an hour on both and see if there's any significant difference. Yeah. And if it's pretty similar, you can just do whatever one you prefer. If you find that OS2 is like always full because it's being posted as like the best map and it's really hard to find one, then you could just go OS3 instead if it's pretty significant. It's not a significant difference then, yeah.
Yeah, I see a lot of people there, so I kind of avoided it.
I see. Aquafina says you get 25 an hour, but that's with Legion drop on. Yeah, it could be just a little bit unlucky, because if it's 15, you know, with a little bit more luck, you can have 18 or 19, which is basically 20. And then if you don't have Legion drop on and you're getting 20, I think you'd be happy, right? But yeah.
Yeah, I think 20.
Maybe you get another session where you get 25, and then it'll even out, you know? It could be one of those situations.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would definitely like double check on the loot rotations, not doing that too quickly, and try that. You can also try that if you want, like if you're doing a BA, like if you're doing like a 15-minute the way you're doing it now, and then do 15 minutes with like the slower rotations, but you'll probably want to work on your domain as well in that time, and then just see how big of a difference that is, and see if it works for you, you know? Because if it's like 2% extra and you're like, this is annoying, you know, I don't want to train like this, then don't do it, you know. But if it's like, okay, this is 20% more, you know, and it's not that much extra effort, then it's a no-brainer. So it's always good to like explore the options and then make your own decisions.
Yeah, I think I'll just try I'll try better loot rotations and then like staying grounded more, and that
Yeah,
should help.
staying on the ground. Yeah. Yeah, because the Kishin dropping, if that happens too often, that'll definitely hurt your rates as well. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember during that compensation like 2x time for whatever they did, like I bought a totem for my Kana because I wanted to make sure like I had full uptime on spawns.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're not even maxing out on totems, you might as well. Fuck it. Just
Yeah, yeah,
clicking the
it's
button
definitely
every
worth.
minute versus every 30-second Kishin, and then always and then when you see like no monsters on your map, you're like, oh god, another 8 seconds downtime. Oh no. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's really.
Sometimes it's like 10, 15 seconds, which is really bad.
Yep. Yeah, either jumping, loot rotations, and then maybe checking out OS2, checking out the different maps, seeing if there's a significant difference, and then working on domain. I think those will be the main things. Use a credit card? wrong server.
All right. I guess that's it. I don't want to take up too much of your time here. Yeah. Thank you for this session. Definitely helped a lot on where I'm trying to go.
Yep.
With my mapling.
For sure. If you have more specific questions, I would say definitely try class discords, for a specific class. And if it's just general game stuff, you can always ask in the chat, and we'll be here. People in chat are very helpful. You've probably already noticed that. If you're asking anything, there's always some people with some advice and with some extra input, so that can help either put your mind at ease or make things even more confusing, but then you'll have more knowledge to work with, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, best of luck, and I hope the upgrade events are successful, so you don't spend a whole lot of money. But I'm curious to see if you stick with the shade and if it can do all the things that you want to do in the game. I hope so, and then hopefully you'll get some positive reinforcement out of sticking a little bit more with one character, and then hopefully you won't feel too bad about leaving the other characters behind a little bit, because you just have to make, you have to make tougher choices in that sense. You just can't play all of them all the time,
Yeah.
Unfortunately. It would be cool if you had some kind of buddy sharing system where your gains on one character could be like in part transferred to another character in your account, so you can kind of, while you're training one, you could help the other one, right?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
That could be cool.
Like play one, but progress them all.
Yeah. Yeah, now you only get that in terms of Legion and Lynx, where if you level one character, then the piece gets bigger and then all the characters benefit from that, but that's very minimal, of course, compared to gaining active levels, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, good luck, and yeah, let me know if there's anything, and I'll upload it to YouTube so you can watch it back if needed, and I'll see you around.
Yep, alright, see ya.
Yeah, have a good one. Bye. Oh, I'm still on the call. There we go. All right, coolio. So yeah, this guy had Legion main, a lot of characters, and you really have to decide, right? If you guys are Legion main, you probably recognize the same thing as like, I like all of these characters. I like them in different situations. What is your ultimate goal? Is there something that you want to achieve? You want to have a full Arcane set? That's cool. What do you need for that? Make the checklist, and then see how big that checklist is, and then see how long that will take you if you play 16 characters versus if you're playing 2 or 3. And then you have to just make the call, being like, okay, do I really care about this, or do I care more about being able to play a lot of different characters? It's ultimately just your decision. You're like, okay, I really want this, but I care more about this, about the liberty and playing a bunch of different characters, then just keep doing that, Or yeah, if you need to carry, then that's just the way that you need to go. But if you don't want to get carried, then that conflicts with that. If you're okay with that, then it doesn't conflict, and you can just do that, right? But it ultimately just comes down to is like, how much time do you have available? How much time do you want to spend? And what do you ultimately, do you have an ultimate goal, or just want to slowly keep growing? If you want to slowly keep growing, there's no issue, right? You can just keep going. The main thing is just arcane power. Those symbol dailies are just highly restrictive, time gated. And I think most people don't want to spend 6 hours a day doing symbol dailies on like 14 different characters. It's just not. At a certain point, you're just like, fuck, like it doesn't feel like you're getting anywhere. Vanishing Journey and Choo Choo, very important though. A lot of daily symbols, right? 45 symbols between Vanishing Journey and Choo Choo per day if you do all of the dailies with the bonus from Vanishing Journey and Yum Yum Island. So make sure that those, at least, that you focus on there in the beginning, because that's a lot of arcane power that you can squeeze out of that. But yeah, hopefully this was somewhat enlightening and helpful for you. Not as much exactly pinpointing gear progression like we usually do in other situations. As like I said, I mean, it all comes down to what the people need the session for, right? Everyone is in a different situation and needs help with making different types of decisions. So this was hopefully an enlightening, kind of different way of seeing the game that than many of you are playing it. But yeah, as always, make sure you leave a comment if you want to win one of these sessions. If you don't want to wait, check the link in the description on how you can request one of these. And check out my video on the patch that I uploaded yesterday about all of the big slime boss and all of that stuff, and the DMT and all the Star Force events coming out. Make sure you mark your calendar. Make sure you come up with a plan ahead of time and do the bosses that you need to do to get backups if you're going to be Star Forcing past 17, because that's risky. And I thank you for watching. Good luck on the last few minutes of your totem, and I'll see you tomorrow. Or live on stream on twitch.tv/Scardor. You already know that. All right, bye.